Alright guys and gals of YouTube, here's my original AR-15 upper from 1996. It's an Olympic Arms. It's got a 10.5 inch barrel with a 5.5 inch flash hider. You can see how long that thing is to hide it. Unfortunately, the flash hider is staked, so this is going to make this job a little harder. But basically what I'm trying to do is, I put a gas piston on this gun about 8 years ago. Before flat tops were really coming the norm. So I have a gas piston on a non-flat topped upper, as you can see. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the gas piston, and I'm going to switch the upper receiver over to a flat top, which I have right here. And I'm going to leave my A-frame front post on it because I don't want to cut the barrel off or do anything like that. No one's interested in the job anyways, and the staking's a pain in the butt. So I'm just going to just push the A2 front sight forward, remove the gas piston, undo the barrel, and then just put on the new upper and just slide everything back together. It's not too hard of a job. Basically what we're going to do first is, I've already driven the pins out because that would have driven you nuts with the noise, but we all know the procedure for the pins. You have the brown nails block and you just push them left to right in the case of this gun. Yours may be different. The Osprey Defense gas piston kit here, normally there'd be a little ball right there. If some of you have seen the kit, I cut that off when I put this on because there wasn't enough clearance with the profile of my barrel here. This was considered a heavier M4 barrel at the time, so when the gas piston would stroke, that little ball would rub down the barrel, so I just chopped it off. So basically what I'm going to do is this. It's simple. I'm going to take this pin out, slide that out. I don't know how many of you have Osprey gas pistons, but so now it's locked in here. Since my gun was so short, the stroke wouldn't allow it to come all the way out. So what I had to do was I had to drive the pins out. I'm going to take my my soft dead blow hammer here and just give the front side a little whack. And then I was just going to pull out the piston carrier here. You can see how dirty that thing is if you get close up on that. This gun has about 4,000 rounds through it. I've never actually cleaned it. I only oil it. And the reason, a lot of people say, why do I do that? It was simple. I was trying to see how long the gun would go before I had a failure. And I haven't had a failure yet. So that's pretty much proven the worth of the gas piston to me. Most of my new guns have now become gas piston guns. So, with that said, now let's get to removing the barrel. Get your AR-15 upper receiver block, lock it in there, and we'll lock it in the vise, and then we'll get our wrench. Alright, a lot of you guys use one of these to take the barrel off your AR-15. My problem is I can't, because I can't slide it over the barrel because I still have the A-frame front sight on here, and it won't slide past the fixed flash hider. So I have to use one of these. And you know how these things slip out over the delta ring. So we're going to slip this over, and we're going to try and line her up the best we can and see what kind of results we get. My fear is going to be stripped threads or stripped wrench or whatever we get. So let's go ahead and get her on there. Okay, here we go. I'm putting a lot of pressure on this wrench to hold that delta ring back, and now I'm going to... Damn. Okay, perfect. So I got that to turn. Those barrels, you never see how this comes off here. There we go, and I just wiggle. Barrel seems to be in there pretty damn tight. It's coming. See, it's halfway there. But it's just really, really tight in that gun. Look at that. And this gives me an opportunity to really clean up the barrel and the chamber too while I'm at it. So we're going to put this to the side, and I'm going to pull out my new upper. You can see I got a new flat top here. Nice brand new stuff. We put some lithium grease on the threads, and we'll dry fit the barrel a couple times. Make sure everything's ready before I torque it down. The torque specs on this, in some cases, it's good to use your torque wrench, but the reality is I learned that when I put things hand tight, I can torque it about the same as the torque wrench does. I just like to hear it click. So Here we go, full A3 upper, forward assist. All right, here we go. I'm gonna douse these parts down with some M Pro 7 real fast. Just get this all cleaned up before we reinstall. I figure this is a perfect opportunity to get some grease and grime off this this upper. You know, this is stuff that's, you know, inside the gas piston here. These are, you know, things that don't get cleaned on routine cleaning. You know, cleaning the pockets here where the roll pins were too. Those are kind of, you know, rusty and greasy. You know, this gun has served me as my primary weapon for years, and unfortunately I haven't treated it, you know, as well, because I've been using it as a test platform to look for failures in the piston systems and stuff. So it's kind of been neglected. Okay, as you can see down here, there's really a lot of carbon along the top of the barrel, because this is where the gas piston sits. Here's the gas port. The gas port is basically releasing all that gas into the piston system. As it strokes, some of the gas is getting released along the top of the barrel. So all this carbon buildup along the top of the barrel here would normally go straight to your chamber. And that's what causes all the carbon fouling and the jams in your gun not to work. But as I said, since this gun is piston driven, you know, as you can see, I'll put the A-frame back up into position, and the carbon is right at the release point where the gas piston strokes. And that's why there's so much carbon right here on the key, on the sliding point of the gas piston. So I'm going to really scrape this thing down and wipe it down with some acetone, just get it really clean and nice and ready to go before I reassemble this upper. Alright, I got the gas piston taken out of the old upper receiver, and here's the guide rod bushing for the piston. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to insert it into the new upper here. You're probably not going to be able to see that on camera, so you're just going to have to take my word on that. Okay, now I'm going to take my giant punch here and I'm going to give it a couple whacks. Feel like that is inserted pretty well. Let's see. I don't know if you can barely see right there. It looks like it's touching the front. All right, I just rolled in the bolt carrier just to check for fitment here. And so far it looks like we're good, but we're not really going to know until the barrel's installed. So I'm just going to test fit the barrel here, just so we can see it meet up with the chamber. So the barrel is now back on just for fitment. And we're going to drop the bolt carrier group back inside the upper. It meets perfectly flush, which means I got that key right on. All right. Okay, while I'm going to do the conversion here to the free float rail and all that, I figured rather than a lot of people cut off the delta ring and then pry off the springs here and the keeper, I can't take off my A2 A-frame post because my barrel is staked via the flash hider. So while I have the barrel off here, I figured this is perfect opportunity to pop this off. So what we're going to do is we're going to take off the ring here. It's pretty easy. Oh shit. That flew off, and here's the spring for the delta ring right there. And once I loosen the barrel out of the barrel clamp here, it'll slide right off. No cutting involved. But that was made simple because I had everything taken apart. I'll just clean this grease here off the threads, and when I reinstall and wait for my two-piece free float rail to come, I'll just clean it up and wait, and we'll reassemble this. Okay, as you know, we've been updating my old 1996 or 1997 AR-15. I don't remember how old it is, but the takedown and pivot pins, they're the original pins. I wanted to update them with these easy pull pins, and I also wanted to upgrade my my trigger pins with the anti-rotation pins. So what we're going to do right now, first we're going to take our roll pin punch, and we're going to put it right in here into the detent hole, and we're going to push in a little bit just to push that detent spring back. If you can get a shot right here, come on top. Just right here, I'm going to push it in, get that detent pushed back, just so it's out of the way. And then as we get it back, it's about right there, I'm going to rotate the pin down. The pivot pin is just about 45 degrees, so the spring and the detent are still detained within the within the lower receiver. I'm going to take my detent pin installation pin here. I'm going to shove it in so the hole is facing up so that spring can't escape. Because so many of you have built these things, you know these things like to fly. So I've got that through there. It's held in place, as you can see. I'm going to take my brand new rotation takedown pin. I'm just going to shove it back through here, and you're going to hear it click when the detent gets in the groove there. And we have a click here. So now that's in, so we can pull that in and out, and we are now captured. So now I have a much easier way of pulling the pin out of the receiver right here. As you can see, it's just a quick, you know, snap right there. Bam, done. Just a little easier. Probably should have oiled it first, make it a little easier to put in. But so there, we have that in place. Now we're going to take down the rear one. Let's get the stock off here first. We have the stock on. I can probably just leave it on, but it's fun to take them off, as you know. Just pull all the way down. It'll slide right off the buffer tube. So you can see a lot of wear on there. I said this gun's had a lot of use over the last, 15 plus years. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my my wrench. And I said you can see the castle nut on this thing is really old. There's only a single hole. So I basically have to find it down here. Find that single hole on the castle nut. We're just going to break this loose ever so gently. Just twist that out by hand. I could probably upgrade this castle nut while we're doing this, because you can see it's just a single hole instead of the more modern style. But at this point in time, I don't see it as really necessary. So I'm going to screw this back on the buffer tube. I'm going to take the plate, the sling plate that's holding the whole thing on. Okay, as I said, I just got the sling plate, and that also keeps the rear detent in place, the rear roll pin. So now what we're going to do is we're going to back that spring out that is so tight in there. Okay, the spring was kind of jammed in there, so I had to relieve a little tension on it to get it out. I have the new takedown pin here, as you can see. So we're just going to drop that in there, and I'm going to push this plate back. I'll put it back in the vise for tightening in a second. Just want to get everything in there, nice and copacetic. There we go. So I probably should upgrade to a newer castle nut, but this one's been on the gun so long I don't think it really matters. I don't really want to update the stock on this gun, just because it's kind of been with me a long time, and seems to function just fine. So here we are now. The rear takedown pin functions perfectly. Just easy pull. Just makes life easy for me, as the name says. So those are the easy pulls. Now we're gonna tighten up the castle nut once I get this back in the vise. And a little turn, not too much pressure, and that is tight. So there we go. That's done. Put my stock back on. Just pull all the way down on the carbine style stock. It'll slide right on. And there we go. Works just fine. So now we're going to move along to the trigger and hammer pins. I have this brand new set of anti-rotation trigger pins here. So if you can get a shot of that. What I'm going to do is I put the little keyway on the end of the pin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my hammer, my dead blow here, and I'm going to line it up perfectly. I'm just going to sort of knock it through. The pin's going to fly out, but the oh wow, look at that! Mine's broken in half. Interesting. Kind of glad we did that project. Look at that. Completely broken. Not too shabby, huh? So we're going to unscrew that from the other side. Put that to the side. And they say use a roll pin punch, but this seems to be a little loose, so I'm just going to try and see if I can drive it through with the new pin set. Alright, so we're almost through. nylon hammer makes the job a lot easier. So there we go. The hammer pin and trigger pin are now installed. Now we just have to put on the braces. This might be easier without being in the vise. But let's see what we get. Okay, let's push that down. There we are. So that's in place. Let's take our Allen key here. Insert that. Give it a nice little turn. Once it starts getting close to tight, it'll start to rotate the pin until we put the other screw in the other side. So I can feel it starting to rotate right now on me. So now let's do the exact same thing on the opposite side of the vise. So I'm going to reverse this for you. Okay, I reversed the lower receiver in the vise right now. So I'm going to put the other trigger pin in place, or the bar. And we're going to take the Allen screw, our Allen key, and we're going to tighten it up slightly, and then I'm going to put the other one on the opposite side, and I'll hold it in one place so it won't rotate on us. So I'm going to take both keys now, on both sides of the receiver. I'm going to torque them against each other. So there we go, just a few quick upgrades to update your old gun. Okay, for the final upgrade on this lower here, before I call it a day, is I'm going to pop out my original trigger guard. I'm going to put in a Magpul enhanced trigger guard. So I'm going to line up my roll pin here, get my trusty hammer, give it a few solid whacks, and that pin's about to come out. I may leave that in there just so I can reinstall it, but the Magpul one might be a different size, so I won't. Alright, the pin went flying. It's down here on the vise. You can see there she is. Nice and greasy. Very old. So now, take our lower out of the vise. This is down now. You see here is where the check football is. Just going to push on that in, and that'll slip right out. Voila. Okay, here's what I do. So I got the brand new Magpul enhanced trigger guard installed, and I have the Allen key here. So we're just going to thread this in here real fast before I pound in the roll pin on the rear of the gun's receiver. So a few quick turns here. Get that in there. Feels nice. Nicey nice. Lock down. Bam. Okay, I'm going to get my roll pin starter kit. Okay, the Magpul pin that came with the trigger is a little too large for my way old receiver here. So I'm going to use the same pin it came with. I just held it in place with my needle nose pliers, as you saw, and gave it a little persuasion with my hammer here. So now I'm going to break out the roll pin I used, one that has a little indent in it so that you don't spread out the split roll pin. And I'm just going to drive it in there ever so slightly. It's almost there, as you can see, just a few hits. And there you go, she's nice and flush now. So there you have it. Magpul enhanced trigger, easy pull takedowns, and anti-rotation trigger and hammer pins. Okay, we're about to torque down the barrel here because I removed the handguard and I'm waiting to install the two-piece free float. So after popping off the delta ring here, I'm just going to torque this puppy down. I got my armorer's tool here, my torque wrench. Torque wrench is set to 35 foot-pounds. So let's give it a little click here. Okay, it just clicked. So now we've hit our torque set. Take that off, see if we're lined up for the gas tube here. And let's slide that through. Oh, look how lucky that is. Bam. Right through. Perfect. Alright, next thing, I'll finish reassembling the gas piston, and then we'll install the free float rail. I'm going to put the A-frame roll pins back in to hold the barrel in here. To make it easier, I'm going to spray them down with a little white lithium grease here. And just make my life a little bit easier. we're going to take that, put that in there, and give it a few taps. You see they go in pretty easy with a little lubrication. So make sure they go in the right way. The pin is tapered. It's pretty obvious visually which way the pin goes. But if you're having trouble, you can take out a micrometer like I've used in the other videos here. So now I'm just going to check my alignment. And we're going to go to town here. And we're good. Alright, here we go. So now I got the piston all installed. I just got to put the collar in here for the actual piston itself. So that's just going to slip in there like that. And then it's just going to slide right over the top of there. Now it's locked in. So as you can see, that's locked. Now we're going to move on to the free float handguard. This should be fun. Okay, since I have a Osprey Defense gas piston on this gun, my options for free float handguards are pretty limited. Luckily for me, Midwest Industries makes the MC TAR 20P, which is for the Osprey Defense gas piston. So what we're going to do here is, you can see right here the groove. That's just going to go over the barrel nut. It's going to drop on right here, give us a nice flush fit. I'm going to roll her over onto her back, and it's going to stay in place, as you can see. I'm going to take this collar right here. What this collar is going to do is it's going to insert right over the top. Using the supplied Loctite, which I've put into this thing, I'm just going to dip the threads in it lightly. I'm going to drop them in. Just each one's going to go into its hole. I'm just going to do this real quickly. Get the Loctite on the threads. Just drop them in, and then I'll start to tighten them up. We're going to crank them down with even torque. That's just going to get it started in its hole. And then we're going to come to this side. And we're just going to apply equal force all the way around now that it's started. It's started. We'll come to this side. Okay, and we'll come to here. Nice even pressure all around the gun. Nice gap on both sides, nice and even. Now we're going to move on to the front here. We call this the U for obvious reasons. We're going to just slide that into the gun here. We have smaller screws for this, so I'm going to switch the driver head out. I'm just going to run that through my Loctite as well. Just going to go in gently. It locks down. I'll grab my next one. Do the same thing. I'm just going to put it in their version of Loctite. I don't know what their brand really they call it is, but it's called a blister back thread locker. So that's going to go in there. Same thing as before. Let me support the gun. It's just going to go in nice and easy. Take your time. It's going to dry a little bit. There we go. That's nice and tight. Now we'll roll the gun back onto its back. I mean, that's the final stretch here of the assembly. On the back here, the lower rail, you just have a single point that drops on, and then you have the two screws up front. Just going to drop that straight down into the hole, just like that. That's nice and tight. Great thing about this product is these the thread locker will break off once you start backing it off. This is just so it won't vibrate out on you when you're shooting at the range. I'm going to put that in there. Okay, last screw. Take your time, no hurry. You know, this doesn't dry that fast. It gets tacky, but you can still work with it. Alright, so there you are. There's the gas piston compatible Midwest Industries free float handguard. I'm going to move on to the bolt and then the final assembly of the firearm. Okay, right now I got a brand new Fail Zero chrome bolt. Since I have an Osprey Defense gas piston, I don't need gas rings, so I'm taking the gas rings off right now very carefully. Not because I need them, but because I have other rifles that use gas rings, so I figure having gas rings laying around is always a good thing for, you know, other rifles in the house. So here it is, Fail Zero chrome bolt. with a no need for gas rings because it's for a gas for a gas piston gun. So here's my Osprey Defense bolt carrier group. I'm gonna slide that in. Very, very tight fit. There we go. I guess that's a good thing. Put the gas buffer back in. Assembled. Firing pin keeper. So you can see the Fail Zero chrome bolt fits nicely into my Osprey Defense bolt carrier group. Now we'll install it in the rifle. So drop her on her back, drop in the charging handle, take the bolt carrier group, lock her in. Probably should be doing this with the upper, but whatever. Okay, that's in. Now we'll assemble the rifle. We'll put on the new rear sight. Alright, let's get the sight on. Alright, so our last piece here is this Magpul sight. We'll slide it down on a brand new rail. It's going to be a little tight at first. And check for alignment. Look down. Perfect. There it is. And we'll just tighten her up. Get it nice and snug. There you have it. Old 1996 or 97 AR-15 updated with anti-rotation trigger pins, easy pull pins, brand new free float gas piston compatible. Yeah, gas piston free float handguard from Midwest Industries. I got the enhanced trigger guard on here as well. And as we said, the Magpul pop-up sight and the Fail Zero chrome bolt. This should be a lot of fun out at the range. And just more, you know, maybe later on I'll update the stock and the castle nut. Who knows? I said this gun served me for a real long time. So there you go.